All right, ladies and gentlemen, today's video is one of those that honestly feels surreal to even be making because we're not talking about some simple Roblox update or a funny bug or even a massive drama within the community. We're talking about the possibility of a YouTuber being sued, shut down, and potentially losing everything they've worked for, all over accusations, harassment, and what could very well be a legal battle waiting to happen. This isn't clickbait. This isn't exaggeration. This might have been Ruben Sim's very last video. And the situation behind it is wild, confusing, and honestly kind of terrifying when you start digging into the details. So let's break this down because the story itself is almost too messy to believe. At the heart of it, we've got Ruben Sim, one of the most infamous figures in the Roblox commentary scene. He's a creator who has built his entire brand around exposing the darker corners of Roblox. Things like inappropriate accounts, condo games, shady developers, and just the insane stuff that Roblox corporate tends to sweep under the rug. But when you dedicate yourself to exposing people, eventually you're going to run into someone who doesn't take it lightly. And in this case, that someone is a person who goes by the name Mars Clute. Now, Mars allegedly reached out to Ruben with threats of legal action. According to Ruben, they accused him of falsely labeling them as an ERP account, or in other words, someone engaging in erotic roleplay on Roblox. If you've been around Roblox long enough, you know that ERP is one of the biggest issues plaguing the platform. It's against the rules, it's a danger to kids, and it's the exact type of thing Ruben's moderation system was built to fight. So when someone gets flagged for it, it's a pretty serious deal. But here's the twist. Mars claimed it was a false flag, that Ruben had defamed them by attaching their account to these accusations. And if Ruben didn't remove their name from his so-called list, they would be taking him to court. Think about that for a second. You're a YouTuber exposing bad actors. You're running a tool to keep Roblox safe. You think you're doing a service for the community. And then, suddenly, someone pops up saying you've ruined their reputation, and if you don't fix it, they'll sue you. That's not just some internet beef anymore. That's a full-on legal threat. And for Ruben, this wasn't just about money or views. This was about his livelihood. A lawsuit, even if you win, costs tens of thousands in legal fees. It drags your name through the mud. It can destroy your ability to create content. And that's why Ruben opened his video saying this might be his last one. Because if this lawsuit went through, it could have ended his career. Now let's get into the details because this is where it gets messy. In the emails and back and forth Ruben shared, Mars insisted that none of their outfits, groups, or activity had anything to do with ERP. They claimed that Snow Bunny outfits, for example, were just ski references, not race play. They claimed that Queen of Spades items were simply a Grateful Dead reference, not a fetish symbol. And they painted Ruben as someone twisting innocent things into malicious ones, all for the sake of making a video. But Ruben, of course, pushed back. He pointed out that many of these explanations didn't add up, that being part of certain groups or using certain symbols wasn't exactly ski slang or band merch. And honestly, whether or not you agree with Ruben, you can see how both sides were digging their heels in deeper and deeper. Mars was saying, "You're defaming me, take it down or face my lawyer." Ruben was saying, "The evidence is right here and I'm not backing off." It's a recipe for disaster, and it's why this entire thing spiraled into the point where Ruben was seriously considering that he might get sued. But beyond the drama itself, this situation raises a bigger question about the risks YouTubers face. Commentary creators especially walk this tightrope every single day. The whole point of their content is to call people out, to highlight shady behavior, to put names to actions, but every time they do that, they risk being accused of defamation. Because here's the thing about defamation law. It doesn't matter if you're right, it matters if you can prove it in court. If you accuse someone of being a predator, of engaging in ERP, of doing anything illegal or immoral, you better have ironclad evidence, screenshots, logs, dates, everything. And even then, a determined lawyer can still drag you through court, forcing you to prove yourself over and over again. For Ruben, that's an even scarier reality, because his whole channel is built on exposing this kind of stuff. He's been waving red flags about Roblox's condo culture and its hidden corners for years. He's created moderation tools that flag accounts and add them to lists. And when you're doing that on such a large scale, processing millions of joins a day, finding tens of thousands of accounts, you're going to get false positives. You're going to misidentify someone at some point. And all it takes is one of those people being angry enough or rich enough to decide to sue. This is the double-edged sword of being an exposer on YouTube. On one hand, you're doing the work that companies don't want to do. You're shining a light where no one else dares to look. But on the other hand, you're opening yourself up to massive legal risks. You're putting targets on your back. And in Ruben's case, that target might finally be catching up with him. But the story doesn't just stop with Mars. The video itself also showcased just how big this problem has gotten. Ruben revealed that in the span of just 1 week, his moderation tool flagged 20,000 sexual accounts on Roblox. Let that sink in. 20,000 in a week. Compare that to the 50,000 it flagged in its entire first year, and you see how rapidly this issue is growing. Roblox might market itself as a safe platform for kids, but behind the scenes, the problem is exploding. And the worst part? These accounts aren't even trying that hard to hide. They're using bios in Morse code to bypass filters. They're slipping slurs and disturbing messages into their profiles. They're joining groups and using usernames that make their intentions pretty clear. And Roblox's filters? Practically useless against it. So while Ruben's dealing with legal threats, he's also showing us the bigger picture. Roblox has a massive ERP problem, and the company's filters are nowhere near strong enough to stop it. Instead, it's third-party tools like Ruben's that are actually catching these accounts. His system scans bios, usernames, group activity, and more, flagging accounts for human review. It even works at a scale where it processes over 13 million joins a day, which is insane. And yet, Roblox itself, the billion-dollar company, can't seem to get a handle on this. That's where the irony comes in. Roblox could easily implement systems like this. They have the money, the engineers, the resources, but instead, it's independent creators like Ruben who are doing the work. And instead of being celebrated, he's facing lawsuits and threats for it. It's almost like the platform doesn't actually want the problem solved, because if it was solved, they'd have to admit how bad it really is. And that's another reason why Ruben's situation feels so dire. Because if he gets shut down, if he gets sued into oblivion, then who's left to actually talk about this stuff? Who's left to expose the fact that Morse code bios are being used to bypass Roblox filters? Who's left to track the condo groups that keep popping up despite bans? Who's left to hold Roblox accountable for letting this stuff thrive on their platform? Without Ruben or creators like him, the platform just gets darker, scarier, and more dangerous for the millions of kids who log in every single day. And that's why this last video message hit so hard. It wasn't just about Ruben potentially quitting. It was about the bigger fight being lost. Now, here's the part where we need to talk about responsibility. Because while Ruben is doing important work, he's also not perfect. Labeling people without 100% proof, even if the odds are stacked against them, is dangerous. Throwing around accusations like ERP or race play can destroy reputations in an instant. And yes, maybe Mars is guilty, maybe they're not, but if you're a creator, you have to tread carefully. There's a difference between exposing clear predators and airing suspicions. And that line is one Ruben has always walked, sometimes a little recklessly. So maybe this lawsuit threat, real or not, is a wake-up call. Not just for Ruben, but for the entire commentary community. We all love the drama, we love the call-outs, but every accusation carries weight. And in today's internet landscape, the person you accuse can and will fight back. They can bring lawyers into the mix. And unless you're prepared to handle that, you're playing with fire. At the end of the day, the situation Ruben found himself in is both a personal crisis and a symbol of a much bigger issue. On the personal side, he's staring down a potential lawsuit that could end his career. On the bigger picture side, he's shown us once again just how broken Roblox moderation is, how rampant ERP still is on the platform, and how dangerous it is to speak out against it. And honestly, that's the takeaway here. Whether you think Ruben went too far, whether you think Mars was falsely accused, whether you think this lawsuit threat was real or just a scare tactic, the fact remains, this entire situation highlights just how risky it is to be a whistleblower in the online space. You're doing good work, but you're always one step away from being silenced. So when Ruben said this might be his last video, he wasn't being dramatic, he was being real. Because one legal battle is all it takes to bring down everything you've built. And in the world of commentary, that's a risk every creator has to face. Now the question is, will Ruben survive this storm? Or will this lawsuit, real or not, finally be the thing that ends one of the most controversial yet impactful voices in the Roblox community? Only time will tell. But if nothing else, this story should make every single one of us think twice about the power of accusations, the dangers of unchecked behavior on platforms like Roblox, and the thin line creators walk when they choose to expose the truth. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the situation we're left with. A YouTuber staring down the barrel of a lawsuit, a platform still crawling with predators, and a community left wondering what happens when the people calling out the problem start getting silenced themselves. It's messy, it's scary, and it might just be the beginning of a much bigger war between commentary creators, bad actors, and the platforms that seem determined to ignore it all.